Total woman from Sagicor Life is
7 a.m. and it's now time for the Morning Watch with Mr. Stokeley Marshall. Today, the Morning Watch is brought to you by Chris and Charles Investments. When you think loans, think Chris and Charles.
Teachers, teachers, teachers. The Chris and Charles double deal is here for you. Borrow $1 million from Chris and Charles and get 30% off your processing fees. Pay less than $25,000 monthly or borrow $575,000 and pay $12,595 monthly. No guarantor needed. Conditions apply. Offer ends May 31, 2023. Call 876-920-4189 for details. When you think loans, think Chris and Charles.
Listeners to Love 101 FM are advised that the views and opinions expressed in this program are not necessarily those of Love 101 FM.
Hello and welcome to the Morning Watch on Love 101 FM, the number one gospel station in Jamaica. I'm your host, Stokeley Marshall. A special welcome to our listeners on love101.org. And if you are overseas and on the move, US listeners can access us at 7128-328-0001. And if you are in the UK, 0330-332-6541, or join us via the Love 101 FM app that can be downloaded from the Google Play Store or the Apple Store. You can also check us out on Love 101 FM Facebook Live and YouTube Live. In the main watch today, more updates on the Tomlinson-Buggery case. In the second watch, caustic soda pollution and other threats to livelihoods. In our social media question, we ask, how aware and concerned are you of the dangerous and careless habits that affect our environment and, by extension, livelihoods? Share your responses on our Facebook or YouTube Love 101 FM Jamaica Live, and also WhatsApp comments and voice notes to 876-997-3125 using the hashtag The Morning Watch. We'll share your comments later on in the program, but first, here's I quote. Well, the I quote for today is, try not to become a man of success, but rather become a man of value. Try not to become a man of success, but rather become a man of value.
Yes, and this one is by
Albert Einstein.
Yes.
Decode this for us, please, Mr. Professor Dyer.
Professor, I received that one. I mean, everybody can become successful, but not everybody will have a value. And when I say value, I mean, personality-wise, character-wise. So you can be successful, but I mean, is your character good? So that's how I interpret it.
I see. Well, the technical meaning, if I can call it that, or what it is supposed to mean, or what Einstein was supposed to have meant, is try not to become a man of success, but rather become a man of value. And I suppose man includes woman.
Yes.
So you mustn't try to become successful, Jukal. Is that what it is really saying?
I mean, I guess so.
Or if you become successful, try not to leave value out.
Right. I'm on that one.
Yeah. You see, we keep telling people to become successful. Sometimes you have to be careful of mixed messaging. But thank you, Mr. Dyer, for interpreting that for us. The main watch. We'll be back after this break.
The New Testament Church of God in Jamaica presents its 98th annual convention, Forward Together with Justice and Loving Service. It will be at the National Convention Center, Williamstown, Catherine, Friday, July 17 to Sunday, July 9, with speakers Bishop N. Thomas Popes, Bishop Ishmael Charles, Bishop Conrad Shaw, Pastor Felicia Graham, Bishop Steve Hepburn, Pastor Dante Sibright. Listen on Love 101 or watch on YouTube and Facebook for the Sunday, July 9, 9
God's The World of Worship Wednesday is coming your way inside alive, 1 to 5, July 5, packed with worship, fun, and information. Stick around for the brain testing menticized at 1:45. Prayer Blast will come your way at 2 o'clock. More prayer, more power. 2:15, we feature Phil Thompson as our worship artist of the day. At 3 p.m. inside the Drama House, we bring you Making Lemonade Season 3, Episode 12, titled Brainwashed. All this and more will come your way inside alive, 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. This World of Worship Wednesday, July 5, with yours truly, Sarah L., the Trippy One on the family station, Love 101, celebrating 30 years of music, family, and love.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Stokeley Marshall. We are in the main watch now. By now, many persons would have heard about the Tomlinson Buggery case, the court session, meaning the relevant trial that was taking place recently is now concluded in terms of, hearing the relevant arguments of the parties. The country, the nation now awaits a ruling from the judges, which is to be expected on the 6th day of October this year, 2023. Now, how did the arguments in court go? What happens next? We have online this morning to assist us Mr. Wendell Wilkins, attorney at law, who was an attorney in relation to one of the relevant parties in the case. Good morning, Mr. Wilkins. How are you doing, sir?
I am okay. Good morning to you and your listeners.
Thanks for being with us again this week. I know you were on last week where you spoke to my colleague who also hosts this show. Now, without you breaching any sub judice rule, Mr. Wilkins, and without you breaching any other rules of court, can you just remind us of the name of the case? Just indicate who the parties are generally, and mention the interested parties, if you will. And as I said, without breaching any rules of court, including the sub judice rule, tell us what really transpired in court. It was supposed to have been a 3-day trial. I gather it was only 2 days after all. The decision date is set for the 6th of October. Walk us through, if you will, as best you can, sir.
Yes, this is an application to the court by the Attorney General representing the state. The parties involved, the claimant is Mr. Maurice Tomlinson, who is a openly gay person, and he has sued the state in the form of the Attorney General, claiming breach of certain constitutional rights.
And before you proceed, Mr. Wilkins, you said it was an application by the Attorney General, even though the suit was started by Mr. Tomlinson. What application did the Attorney General make?
This application is to determine whether or not the Savings Law Clause in the Constitution protects the law which is being impugned as being unconstitutional from any inquiry or investigation by the court as to its constitutionality. And that is.
Do you know why the Attorney General might have sought to make that application, since it was Mr. Tomlinson who started the suit?
Yes, Mr. Tomlinson is claiming breach of his constitutional rights, and for part of the offences against the Persons Act to be struck out as being unconstitutional. That is Section 76, 77, and 79 of that Act.
And
But
76 is it 76? 1 second, Mr. Wilkins, just for the benefit of the listeners. 76 is the section that prescribes the sentence for buggery. 77 prescribes the sentence for attempting to commit buggery, and 79 has the sentence in it for gross indecency. Okay, between male persons. Okay.
Right. So Mr. Tomlinson in the main suit is saying that there should be no law which prevents consenting persons aged 16 and above in privacy operating in a certain sexual way. But presently the buggery law, by virtue of those sections that we just mentioned, interferes with its constitutional right to do so, rights of privacy, family, equality before the law, and so forth.
That is his case.
Yes, that is
his case. Still trying to understand, though, Mr. Wilkins, why the Attorney General thought that they ought to make the application in relation to the savings law clause. The application didn't come from the claimant himself, Mr. Thompson. It came from the state.
The Attorney General, because when we're moving from a colonial state into an independent state, the saving law clause in the Constitution saves existing law, so they come over as valid law, and that has been so for years. So we have the constitutional rights now being set out in the Charter of Rights that came into being in 2011. So the question arose as to whether those laws that came over from independence, including the buggery law, and in this case we are talking about the buggery law, is saved as a valid law by that saving law clause. So that is the point that the Attorney General, as a preliminary point, without dealing with the main issue by Mr. Tomlinson, is asking the court to rule on.
I see.
So that the court can say that the savings law clause does not protect the buggery law from being unconstitutional at this point in time.
But that preliminary point, Mr. Wilkins, seems so fundamental. If I could jump in here, sir, because of time. That preliminary point seems so fundamental. Might it not sort of, as it were, almost determine the case depending on the outcome of this point, sir?
No, it doesn't.
It does not?
No, because it is saying, does the court have the power to say the saving law clause saves the buggery law, which is an old law coming from the past?
Let me jump in here again. If the court, I don't know what the court will say, by the way. I have no clue. But just for argument's sake, if the court says the savings law clause is unconstitutional, it would certainly make Mr. Tomlinson's case a little bit easier then, wouldn't it?
No, that is not the framing, is whether or not the saving law clause saves the buggery law.
And if it doesn't, what happens? What would happen? And if it doesn't, what do you think would happen? And if it doesn't save it, what do you think would happen, sir?
It means that the parties will go back to the main claim to say that the existing buggery law found in the Offences Against the Persons Act is unconstitutional or constitutional. That is the issue, the main issue that Mr. Tomlinson sued about.
Still not absolutely clear as to why they decided to test this preliminary point. But you know what? It is what it is. We are going to take a break now. Please, listeners, stay with us. We'll be right back on the Morning Watch.
exactly what I need.
CNWJ Credit Union has a lifestyle loan. Access your CNWJ CCU lifestyle loan anytime you need it. Whatever your reason, emergencies, special occasions, consolidated debt, or everyday expenses. Your lifestyle, your choice. Approval within 24 hours. Apply today. Get a CNWJ Credit Union loan. It's just what you need. Discover the benefits of belonging.
Power in great moments. If you have financial needs, Chris and Charles will fix them for you. Power in great moments since 1992. Oh, we have it all. Power in great moments. Relax, you got Chris and Charles. Oh, we have it all. When you think loans, think Chris and Charles.
Building your house and looking for everything in hardware from ground to roof? Save the hassle. It's Robinson and Sons Hardware, dedicated to giving you the best. Call Robinson and Sons Hardware 876-715-1724 or visit 18 West Palm Avenue, Port Antonio, Portland. If we don't have it, we'll get it for you. Robinson and Sons Hardware, Port Antonio, Portland, dedicated to giving you the best. 876-715-1724.
As it follow Grace Sardine, better flavor. Grace Sardine with the chef and the beginner. Follow the one with pepper, that are the winner. Shop on supermarkets, everybody sell it. Do all of them nice. Pass the back, make push it.
Grace Sardines follow the better flavor. Reverend Dr. Kerry Dennis and Acts 222 Ministries presents Warfare Night, Setting the Captives Free. Real Deliverance, Friday, July 7, 2023 at 7 p.m. at the Jamaica Youth for Christ Auditorium, 2 Arcadia Avenue, Kingston 5, under the theme Victory, Psalm 25, verse 15. Admission free. For more information, please contact us at 402-942-2967 or visit our website at www.kerrydennis.org.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Stokeley Marshall. We are in the main watch, and the topic is more update on the Tomlinson Buggery case. Our guest is Wendell Wilkins, attorney at law. Mr. Wilkins, so the Attorney General made this application, and it's on a preliminary point, and there was a trial in relation to this preliminary point, and he did indicate that, depending on the outcome, regardless of the outcome, really, the trial would then proceed thereafter, or if the Attorney General wins on this preliminary point, would the substantive matter still be dealt with, sir?
Well, if the Attorney General succeeds, it will severely affect the ability of Mr. Tomlinson to proceed to say that the law, that is the Buggery law, is unconstitutional, because it means that the law coming from the past is saved and is not unconstitutional. But certainly the matter can be disposed of with finality in the main proceeding. So it depends on which position Mr. Tomlinson takes. He can still proceed with the substantive matter. But remember, his argument, with the saving laws clause is that it does not apply, because if the old law is changed so that it does not remain the same, then there is no application of the savings law clause. And he's arguing that the Sexual Offences Act and Regulation, which came afterwards, have changed the Buggery law, and therefore the saving law clause does not apply. To save it as being valid and constitutional law at this point in time.
Understood, Mr. Wilkins. And only because of time, never enough time on the Morning Watch, this case was supposed to have gone on for it was scheduled for 3 days. Clearly, the court was able to have it concluded within 2 days without breaching any rules of court, including the sub judice rule? Would you like to indicate to us, as much as you can without breaching any rules, what transpired and what might have caused it to only need 2 days, and what next?
Yes, the presentation was by the Attorney General that the law is saved, and therefore the saving laws clause applies, and there is no impugning at this point in time of the offences of the Persons Act regarding the burglary law. Of course, Mr. Tomlinson vigorously opposed that and say the law has changed, and therefore the burglary law is not impugned from being attacked because it's no longer safe, and therefore is exposed for a declaration that it is unconstitutional at this point in time.
And when you make reference to impugned or not being impugned, if you just want, could you just indicate for the listeners exactly what you mean?
That language means that you can't attack it to say it is invalid. It's bad law. So
understood.
The Attorney General is trying to say that the law remains the same because it has been said it has not been changed by the Sexual Offences Act and Regulation, which requires the registration and monitoring and reporting of sex offenders.
Understood.
The third parties supported the Attorney General's position, and the matter has been reserved for judgment or final decision of the court in October.
Now, I have a question here, an interesting question, and you can tell me if you can or cannot answer it. I know that you are an attorney who, you understand the rules of court, and we will be guided by whatever you think you say you can and cannot answer. The question is, can anything outside of the courtroom influence the judge's decision or decisions in this case?
Well, we know that only matters and material presented in court is considered by the judges, nothing else.
Thank you for that question, for that response, Mr. Wilkins. Another one is, well, again, you will let us know to what extent you can and cannot answer. Based on what has happened, well, in looking at it, I probably won't ask that question. I won't ask that question. But another question, sir, is in terms of between now and October, some persons may not know what it is that makes courts need to wait a while before they actually come out with the decision. Some people might have assumed that the case was to have run for 3 days. It took 2 days. And some persons might have expected a decision on the second day. Can you just explain to listeners why it is that you may need a certain amount of time before you actually announce the decision?
Yeah, sure. The matter is of importance because it is a constitutional matter. So there were many submissions that were made to the 3 sitting judges and many cases brought to the attention of the 3 judges. And therefore, in doing their judicial work, the judges must pour over these submissions and the many, many cases that are relevant to come to their decision making.
Okay.
So it is not a simple application. There are many aspects to it and many case law to go through and read and so forth.
And these judges have other work to do as well. It's not as if this is the only matter they are dealing with.
That is correct.
Yes. Now, in terms of the decision to be made in October, 3 judges. I think you dealt with this before when you were speaking last time, sir, but if you can just remind us, does the decision of the court have to be unanimous, meaning all 3, or any 2 of the 3 can make a decision that could tilt the decision one way or the other? Explain that to us, sir.
Yes, the 3 judges are sitting because it's a constitutional point being raised, and 2 out of the 3 can be a majority, and therefore the majority decision will be the decision. You can have 1 dissenting, or you can have all 3 judges agreeing on the matter.
One way or the other.
Majority decision, or all 3 judges agree.
And if a party, whichever party it is not satisfied with a decision of this court, can they appeal it to the Court of Appeal?
Sure.
Can it ultimately be appealed to the Privy Council?
Any party who is dissatisfied, and in this case, it would be the claimant, Mr. Tomlinson, or the Attorney General, can appeal the decision of the court that has reserved its judgment, and the judgment is to be given in October this year.
Yes, and the appeals could go right up to the Privy Council.
Yes, certainly. Any dissatisfied party, if they are dissatisfied with the decision of the Court of Appeal in Jamaica here, can appeal to the Judicial Committee of the Privy Council, which is our final court.
Okay. Now, there are interested parties in the case. If you can, as you know, could you just outline for us who some or all of these interested parties are, and just remind us or tell us why they have no right of appeal in the matter?
Yes, you have the collection of churches, and they are referred to in the lawsuit as the churches. Then you have the Jamaica Coalition for a Healthy Society. Then you have also, as a third interested party, the Lawyers Christian Fellowship Limited, collection of Christian lawyers, and you have here
of which I'm a member. I will declare of which I'm a member. Proceed, Mr.
Yes. Good. And the last interested party is the Hear the Children Cry.
Understood.
So
now,
their position is that they have something to say and add to the decision-making process, and therefore they should be heard.
Okay, but they'd have no right of appeal in the matter because
the suit is really between Mr. Maurice Tomlinson and the Attorney General.
I see. Well, thank you, Mr. Wilkins, for returning to the morning watch today. We know you were with us last week. There, and thank you for filling in any gaps or giving us further information, more updates, and really helping us to understand what happened or what transpired over the 2 days in the matter. We do appreciate your time and your thoughts, and we will not preempt anything. We will wait to see what happens in October.
Yes, indeed. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you, sir, for returning to be with us today. We are grateful for your time and for your thoughts. Listeners, please stay with us. We'll be right back on the Morning Watch.
JN Small Business Loans. Tell us your business and let's turn your ambitions into reality. The time by JN Small Business Loans is
7:30.
Well, if you want buy appliances for your home with the quality high and the price low. Get it on my Bashco. Get it on my Bashco. 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 Everything where you need. Bashco. Quality service guaranteed and a Bashco. Yeah, Bashco. Furniture for your house. There's everything for your kitchen. Rocks and more at Bashco. The store that gives you more. Bashco.
There's certain moments in life you'll cherish forever. Like buying your first car, stepping into your first home, sending your child to university, starting that business you've always dreamed of. These are your great moments, and helping you achieve them is ours. Call Chris and Charles today. We have a loan for all the great moments in your life. Powering great moments since 1992. When you think loans, think Chris and Charles.
Oh, every time I feel the rent, I feel like the money could have been better spent. More something from the phone, more for turn the key, and I'm a phone. They make it so convenient when you contact the NHD. No matter your home ownership, boy, you can get a loan easily. Get more than a home is what you want to do. NHD is here for delivering more. Delivering more.
Make money now with local City and Guilds and ABE and Guild certificates and Distinction College. Start new online and face-to-face classes very soon. Make money now career courses and get qualified jobs worldwide or start your own business in practical pediatric, geriatric, and psychiatric nursing, phlebotomy and pharmacy technician, early childhood education, childcare, cashiering, call center, event planning, receptionist, customer service, housekeeping, laboring, food preparation, bartending, cake baking, plumbing, modern labor, electrical installation, air conditioning, makeup, hairdressing, nail technician, and cosmetology. No subject to require no 8 limits. Register this week and get City and Guilds Maths and English classes for free. Call us at 7564167.
They're full of life. You're full of love. They're carefree. You can more. That's why we created Child Protector, a critical illness insurance plan from Sagicor Life. It provides coverage for your child in the event of 15 critical illnesses, hospitalization benefits, life insurance, and investment benefits. So make sure your child can live life to the fullest. Apply for Sagicor Child Protector today.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Stokeley Marshall. Let's take a look now at the newspapers to see what Jamaicans and others are saying and doing. And when I say newspapers, I mean our various news sources. Our newspapers are not always physical these days. We have in the Gleaner, disgruntled Caribbean products workers to resume normal duties. We have in the Observer, scamming cases crumble. Chief Justice chides cops as late reports result in accused choppers, in inverted commas, being freed. This story written by Observer writer Horace Hines. We have in Loop Jamaica News, 3 mob killings in a week. Senior cop asks Jamaicans to stop. Those and many other stories in our various news sources. Of course, coming up next, we'll read through some of the feedback from our Facebook and WhatsApp question, which is, how aware and concerned are you of the dangerous and careless habits that affect our environment and by extension livelihoods? If you haven't done so, leave a comment on our Facebook or YouTube Love 101 FM Jamaica Live, and also WhatsApp comments and voice notes to 876 997 3125 using the hashtag The Morning Watch. We'll be right back.
It's beginning to look a lot like
announcers are ready, right, KG and DJ?
More than ready like Freddy. St. Thomas, make sure you come out to the game, whether you feel like Hulk or not. Right, DJ?
I am ready again, KG, and St. Thomas, we are bringing all the love in the world for you. So let's make it big for Jehovah.
DJ Rebirth is ready with the mix, and trust me, him have the right fix.
I love summer. Are you ready for this? I mean, are you really ready for this?
This Saturday, July 8, 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. at the Rudolph Elder Park with DJ Rebirth keeping the vibes right. I love summer. Brought to you by Love 101, celebrating 30 years of music, of family, and love.
It's all right. You got the freedom.
Another World of Worship Wednesday is coming your way inside Alive, 1 to 5, July 5, packed with worship, fun, and information. Stick around for the brain testing menticized at 1:45. Prayer Blast will come your way at 2 o'clock. More prayer, more power. 2:15, we feature Phil Thompson as our worship artist of the day. At 3 p.m. inside the Drama House, we bring you Making Lemonade Season 3, Episode 12, titled Brainwashed. All the summer will come your way inside Alive, 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. This World of Worship Wednesday, July 5, with yours truly, Sarah L., the Chirpy One, on the family station, Love 101, celebrating 30 years of music, family, and love.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Stokeley Marshall. Let's join Jukal for a look at how our Facebook and WhatsApp friends answer today's question. How aware and concerned are you of the dangerous and careless habits that affect our environment and, by extension, livelihoods? Any comments, Jukal, or do I move right into the second watch?
All right, so we do have some responses. Cherry from Spanish Town says, good morning. It's sad to see soil erosion in unexpected places because of interference. Trees being cut down, they do replace the trees, but how long will it take to grow? Caustic substances in the water are killing fishes. The seashore in different sections of the island are being eroded. Fishermen, they don't want to wait and make catchment. They should not do the garbage disposal, fire destruction, and there's so many things to see, and will show the damage to the environment. Also, Edna has sent a voice note. Let's hear what she's saying.
Morning, watch. Love 101 listeners and staff. My take on the environment, I'm telling you, our environment had been polluted over and over the years. And even until that kingdom come, it will be polluted. But we can do much better with our environment. We're abusing our environment. We are murdering our environment. Even on the street that I live on, that I have to walk on daily, they throw all kind of dead animal on the street. People live on the street. People have to sweep the street. Oh my God, it's so terrible. We need to do better than what we are doing. We're not gonna completely do everything, but we can do our best. If I eat a sweetie paper, I put it in my bag till I reach a garbage bin. Come on, we can do much more with our environment. It's polluting us. We are the one who live in it. We must do better than that, man.
And that's the final response we have from our listeners.
Well, moving right into the second watch, Jukal, thank you, sir, and thank you, listeners, for your comments. Now, as it relates to the environment, well, from oil to plastic to garbage to, well, there are all sorts of things that are affecting the environment, including caustic soda, plus much more. And our environment is impacted by a lot of the things that we do, and oftentimes we do these things without thinking about it. Sometimes we do them deliberately, sometimes we do them not deliberately, but nevertheless, there is still harm to the environment. How do we prevent these things from happening? And when they do, how do we correct it easily and quickly? How many of us know that we have a constitutional right to a clean and healthy environment? We have as our guests today, Paul Carroll, environmental scientist, and Dr. Teresa Rodriguez Moody, Chief Executive Officer Jamaica Environment Trust, JET. Good morning, Dr. Rodriguez Moody and Mr. Carroll. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, Stokeley.
Now, quickly.
Good morning, listeners.
Yes, good morning to the both of you. Prevention of harms to the environment. We have various stories in the print media of harm to the environment. And sometimes you have stories that don't point to any specific person or entity causing the harm, but there are questions that indicate that the matter needs to be investigated. How do we prevent these things? Starting with you, Mr. Carroll, how do we prevent these things?
Well, that's a very key word, prevention. It's about a very old thing, an ounce of prevention. It's all that better than, ounce of prevention is what we really have. Because the fact is that environmental damage is preventable. And the fact also is that if we don't prevent it, and to fix it it costs so much more. For example, just look at the state of our watershed. The watershed, as far as I'm concerned, should be our number one priority, watershed management. Because if we don't, what we get is soil erosion. We get washing.
Just remind us or educate us on what a watershed is and how important it is, Mr. Carroll.
Okay, let me just get straight to the point. For example, the entire Jamaica is a watershed. Okay, a watershed is an area that collects water, and the drains, of course, all waters drain to the sea by rivers, streams, etc. Right. So if we really look at what a watershed is, we know that the entire Jamaica is a watershed. This land of wood and water.
Yes.
Look at that.
Understood. And Dr. Rodriguez Moody, prevention. Any comments on that, Dr. Rodriguez Moody? Prevention.
Prevention is key, as we just heard, but it's also hard because I think it starts with an appreciation for the importance of the environment and the link it plays between our health and our livelihoods. So moving away from the environment is ours to exploit and master to the environment is ours to protect, to ensure our livelihoods and our health is where we need to get to have prevention of these environmental incidents, because a lot of them are preventable, but because we don't really have that care for the environment and there's a level of disregard and there is this, it's ours to use and abuse. And I think this is why we end up where we are oftentimes.
Dr. Rodriguez Moody, I don't want to necessarily, let me just get to the point. You're raising something that sounds almost philosophical. The environment is not there for us to explore and abuse, but it is there for us to, I think you said, care for. Almost like you're pointing out a dichotomy there. Yes. And a sort of belief system that is affecting why we treat the environment in the way we treat it. Now, we know that our Constitution indicates that we are to protect the environment. I want you to help us to understand that dichotomy some more when we get to the other side of the break. Dr. Rodriguez Moody, listeners, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back on the Morning Watch.
Sardine for the chef and the beginner. Follow the pan with pepper, that are the winner. Shop on supermarkets, everybody
sardines, follow the better flavor.
The time is 7:45.
Focused on you. Hey, family, friends, passion, joy. We're focused on you.
Focus on life, focus on love, focus on health. None of the above. Imperial Optical is focused on you. Hey. Imperial Optical Jamaica, focused on you. From Taurus Riley.
It's the Home and Things Anniversary Sale. We're kicking off celebrations with big discounts on all your favorite items. Enjoy store-wide savings with huge discounts on tiles, bathroom fixtures, faucets, vanities, shower enclosures, lighting, home decor, and more. We're celebrating quality and style as we say thank you, Jamaica, for 25 years of love and support. The Home and Things Anniversary Sale, Old Hope Road and Constant Spring Road. Let's celebrate because Jamaica builds with Home and Things.
Power in great moments. If you have financial needs, Mr. Charles will fix them for you. Power in great moments since 1992. Oh, we have it all. Power in great moments. Relax, you got Kristen Charles. Oh, we have it all. When you think alone, think Chris and Charles.
From generation to generation, Jamaicans have depended on J&B Bank to make the pride and joy of providing a safe place for their families possible. Now, with no processing fees and no down payment mortgage options, you can open the door to your own sweet home, a legacy to hand to your next generation. Visit jnbank.com to get pre-approved today. J&B Bank will help you find a way. Crystal Clear and Sharp Vision Ultra Clear is a total natural herb formulated to activate the adult replacement stem cells in your body, sending them to the eyes to repair the damaged cells. Take 1 teaspoon daily in hot water and watch the improvement in your vision. To get yours, call Hafco Herbs 876-540-8871. That's 540-8871 or WhatsApp 533-0462.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Stokeley Marshall. We are on the second watch. The topic is caustic soda pollution and other threats to the livelihoods. Our guests, Mr. Paul Carroll and Dr. Teresa Rodriguez Moody. Dr. Rodriguez Moody.
Yeah.
The dichotomy. Caring for the environment as opposed to seeing it as something to explore and dominate, conquer, whatever the language is. Would you like to just have a little discussion with us on that? Because that might be, I'm not saying it is, it might be a reason some people treat the environment the way they do. Some see it as something to care for, others see it as something to explore and dominate, to include just making money from it. Go ahead, Dr. Rodriguez Moody.
Yeah, I think that a lot of our attitudes towards the environment are coming from history and how historically we have used the environment. And I think that now that we're waking up to the climate crisis and we're now seeing how closely we are linked and our actions are linked with what is happening, there is this acknowledgement. I wouldn't say new, because I think that there are cultures before that probably would have really embraced this philosophy, if you want to call it that. But I think more and more as we face this climate crisis, there's this recognition that if we had changed our approach from early in terms of how we relate to the environment, how we use the environment, a lot of the issues that we are now faced with today, we wouldn't be in. There is, that link between. A couple of years ago, I had a conversation with scientists about climate change and health. And a lot of people were scratching their head because they didn't actually see the direct link immediately. But the minute we started having the conversation, it became more, noticeable that there is a direct link, but we just have not been paying attention. And so again, we see the environment, we see the trees, we see the mountains, the rivers, we have our factories, we do all of these different things, but we don't tend to recognize the impacts. And we do these EIAs, yes, but sometimes we think that, oh yeah, man, it's all right, we'll just mitigate, we'll just do something to kind of appease the law or the regulatory authorities, without just recognizing that this is not just about your business. This is about the public health as well, and the environment, which benefits more than just you, but everybody. So it's a difficult area. I think that it requires a lot more consciousness from all businesses, individuals, government as well, for us to change that attitude. Because in earlier this year we had the Prime Minister's debate, or the Prime Minister's message in cabinet, and he was saying that he used the same words, Jamaica, we are masters of the environment, and that's not correct. If you want to use the words of the Pope, we are stewards of the environment.
Dr. Rodriguez Moody, I'm not omitting Mr. Carl. I'm not omitting it from the discussion at all, but I find some of what Dr. Rodriguez Moody, some of what she's saying to be so interesting, because I have my own views on climate change and the environment and what you call the climate crisis. But be that aside, is it possible, Dr. Rodriguez Moody, that you can dominate the environment, explore the environment, and at the same time care for it? Which is why I think some people are arguing, because at the end of the day, we all have to live here. We live on the earth. So isn't there a way to do both? Because if we don't do both, there will never be any of what we call development. Dr. Rodriguez Moody, before I
Well,
go.
again, it depends on what you consider development. Some people consider development high-rise buildings, concrete, and so forth, and then you don't have equality, or you have that level of development in quotations, and then you have a whole lot of inequalities and human rights issues. So I suppose it depends on what you consider development.
You have inequality too in quote unquote primitive societies, but that's another.
No,
That's an
but you
interesting
see,
thing, right?
you're equating caring for the environment with primitive societies in that statement, and I disagree.
No, not at all, not at all, not at all. I'm just saying you made mention of inequality, and you can have inequality regardless of the millennium.
No, that's correct. Yes,
that.
that's correct. That's correct.
Yes,
But
yes.
I make the point because it just really depends on what we consider development. Development in different,
Very interesting.
it by different definitions. Different people consider development in different ways. So I think our government has said development is high-rise buildings, is concrete, and so forth. But that's not necessarily the best approach for development. And I wouldn't say, you use the word dominate. I don't think it's a dominate versus being stewards, or dominate versus caring. I think it's just putting environment at the center of decisions. So understanding that, yes, you might have potentially a negative impact, but the aim is to avoid, not just to mitigate, but to avoid as much as possible the negative impacts. And at the very, if it means changing your design, adjusting what it is you're doing, and then if you can't do any of those, that's mitigation. I mean, that's the principle of it, but a lot of people actually take the first route as, this is what we want to do, and then we'll just kind of fix the environment, as if the environment can be fixed after the fact.
Understood, because development can also include having larger ports, etc. Mr. Carroll, any comments, sir? Because you would have heard the discussion, which was not a part of the original remit of the segment, but she made such an interesting comment there about caring versus, how we treat with the environment otherwise in a way that would cause, I think maybe she would probably say, harm to the environment. Am I correct, Dr. Rodriguez Moody? Mr. Carroll, any comments?
Yes, I am in total agreement. Our approach to the environment is normal, is usually an exploitative one. Where now we need to move, and we say this every day, but we actually need to move towards it. Not just
Part
thinking about
of the dialectic, Mr. Carroll, exploitative, like capitalism, sir?
Well,
look at the interesting conversation we're having today. Go ahead, Mr. Carroll. Enjoying this discussion with you both. Go ahead, sir.
Development, but we want development without destruction.
We want development without destruction. Define destruction, yes. Mr. Carroll. We haven't even got into the whole matter of the caustic soda and all of that, but this is an interesting discussion.
Destruction is the non-sustainable use of resources.
The what of resources, sir?
Non-sustainable use of resources.
Non-sustainable
resources in a manner where it cannot be sustained.
Meaning it can't be replenished?
Well, for those resources that cannot be, because you have resources that are renewable, those that can be replenished. And
so when we mine the bauxite and that bauxite is gone, it will.
Right. On that note.
We should have shut down the bauxite industry, Mr. Carroll. I'm not being devil's advocate. I'm just asking.
But maybe you could be.
I don't want to be the devil's advocate. And when we mine gold, and well, I don't know about renewal there, but you mine gold, you take oil, fossil fuel.
In terms of oil, also non-renewable.
Interesting. But what about trees? When we cut trees down, we can replant the trees.
You can replant the trees. Yes, you can. But bear in mind that you need quite a bit of lead time. Yes. Trees are things that we need to respect very much, because you can say you plant. Yes, we go out there and plant a tree. How long is that tree going to take to mature? It's a very long time.
We are literally out of time already. As I said, we didn't even get into caustic soda pollution, but I think the discussion we had today was extremely important. Any closing thoughts from both of you, starting with you, Mr. Carroll, and then Dr. Rodriguez Moody? Mr. Carroll.
Right. It is clear that we need to take a good look at our priorities.
Yes.
Because we have to come to terms with one basic fact. Without the environment, there is no us.
Without the environment, there is no us. Dr. Rodriguez Moody.
No human beings.
Understood, sir. Understood you loud and clear, Mr. Carroll. Dr. Rodriguez Moody, any closing
Yeah,
thoughts?
I will just add to what Paul said. Without a healthy environment, there is no us. Yes, and a healthy environment means things like clean air, safe climate, access to safe water, adequate sanitation, non-toxic environment, healthy biodiversity and ecosystem. So just to for your listeners to understand that this is when we talk about a healthy environment and even what it means to have a constitutional right to a healthy environment, these are some of the things that it means. So you need that for our very existence, for us to have healthy economies, etc.
I will say publicly, I don't totally agree with both of you, but I do agree we need a clean environment, clean air, because without a healthy environment, we really can't continue to exist. But I may have different views from the both of you on certain points, but I want to thank the both of you for being with us today on this conversation, this discussion. I enjoy these kinds of discussions. Please come back again, because it's very, very interesting. Dr. Rodriguez Moody and Mr. Carroll, thank you so much for your time and for your thoughts. And thank you, listeners, for being with us today. Join us again tomorrow as we look at other topical and controversial issues. Visit the Love 101 FM YouTube channel and Facebook page for this and all other Love 101 FM programs. And of course, download our Love 101 app and stay connected to us, the family station, the #1 gospel station in Jamaica. This has been The Morning Watch. Thanks to our producer, Kathy Gale, and to our guests. I am Stokeley Marshall, handing it back to Love in the Morning with Jokal.